Attention all Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, and TuneIn radio listeners. The Odd to Newfoundland Paranormal Podcast brings you the best in East Coast esoterica on the first of every month. Together, we can keep it growing by sharing the show on social media, subscribing to the show wherever you may be listening to it from, and by leaving feedback about your favorite episodes. John certainly needs a friend like you to help make his dreams come true, minus the alien abduction dreams. That is not cool at all. The Odd to Newfoundland Paranormal Podcast. Always available, always free, always odd.
The following podcast is brought to you by Newfie EVP, Talking with the Dead in Newfoundland. Jump on Amazon.ca today and get your free sample of the best-selling ebook in Unexplained Mysteries.
It's the Odd to Newfoundland. Ghostly greetings from your host, Jonathan. Mysteries, ghosts, monsters, and lore. East Coast esoterica and so much more. If it's odd to you, friend, it's on the Odd to Newfoundland.
Ghostly greetings from the oldest city in North America. I'm your host, John Mallard. I'm bringing you the best in East Coast esoterica. You, my friends, have stumbled upon the Odd to Newfoundland Paranormal Podcast, a very special bonus episode, episode number 62, right here live from Marjorie Mews Public Library. Give yourselves a big clap for being here tonight. There are many people out there who said they were going to show up tonight, but only a few brave souls entered the door. Brave souls. We have people who are over the age of 70. We have people who are under the age of 10. We have people who may be 700 odd years old. I'm actually talking about the witch in the corner. Nice costume, by the way. I just want to put this in the podcast so we can remember that. Delightful. You hear her cackling over there. She's going to definitely provide some entertainment tonight. Thank you so much for coming out, guys. This is my pride and joy. I love this podcast. It's everything. It's my escape from reality, so to speak. We all need a nice hobby, but every now and then we do a hobby that could be a little freaky, deaky. Tonight is open mic ghost stories. Everybody in this room has the ability to come up here, sit in the old spooky chair, and tell their own ghost story. It could be long, it could be short, it could be really scary, it could be kind of funny, it could be whatever you want it to be. My favorite ghost stories are the ones that come from the heart, the ones that truly do terrify you. And, creepy things that have happened to you in the past is always fun as well. I would ask only two things when you guys come up. No need to look at the mic and talk into it. This pop screen will make sure that any loud bangs in the room are guarded. Also, this actually is picking up my voice bouncing off the wall. So don't worry about it. You're going to sound wonderful. I do edit. Okay? If you don't want to be recorded, just say, I don't want to be recorded. I guess I should start things off. I think I should. I like it. And believe it or not, we are writing a ghost story right now. Just sitting here. The moment one of you sat down today, you've already set off a chain of events that are going to lead us to our next and first ghost story of the night. You, my friend, came in and you bravely sat upon that chair. But what if I told you there really is a boogeyman underneath it? Why don't you get down and take a look at that chair? Do you feel something underneath there? What is it? Oh, wait. What's he got there? What is it? It looks like a... Oh, it's a DVD! Hey! Now, my friend, how old are you?
10.
I'm going to be honest with you. You're 10 years old?
Almost 11.
Almost 11? I don't know if you're going to be allowed to watch that one. That might...
hands it for Dad.
That might be more for Dad and Bob or whatever, okay? But what you just found was one of the scariest movies ever made. That is the original Poltergeist.
He feels it backward end.
This movie is one of the most quintessential Halloween movies. It's right up there with Hocus Pocus. And, anybody see the new Michael Myers movie, by the way?
No, I haven't.
No?
I've seen a little bit of it.
Yeah? Is it good?
And my mom told me not to watch it.
Well, we all know what's on those movies. It's make-believe, although it can be a bit disturbing. But what if I told you that some disturbing things happened to the cast who made that movie? Yeah.
Cool.
The word on the street is, who am I kidding? What's really well known in Hollywood is that movie was actually cursed accidentally by Steven Spielberg himself. I've got the rest written down. I want to write it out and read it to you guys because I think it'll be just a little bit nicer to see. The whole ordeal began quite accidentally to one of the stars. There was one iconic scene from that movie where one of the wonderful actresses who portrayed one of their beloved characters in it was drowning pretty much to death in a gigantic pool with skeletons all around her grabbing at her. Kind of creepy, right? What Spielberg didn't tell the prop people was that he wanted authenticity in his film. And we all know Spielberg's films are they're like up here. I think one of the scariest movies I've ever seen is actually E.T. When I look at E.T., he's crazy, creepy, especially the dying scene. But anyway, we're not going to go there because Spielberg wanted things to be so authentic, he quite literally used real skeletons. So, I don't know about you. The last thing you want to do is disrespect the dead, correct? You all know what happens when we disrespect the dead. Sometimes we wind up cursed. And so they say the entire cast was cursed from that point onward. In fact, a whole lot of crazy things happened after that. Months after the release of the first film, a star was murdered. An exorcism was performed on the set of the sequel. Concerned about the use of real skeletons on the set of the first film, Native American actor of Poltergeist 2, The Other Side star Will Sampson, performed an exorcism on the set of the second film in 1984, which just so happens to be the year I was born. I hope it has nothing to do with it. According to Williams, he went to the set late at night by himself to do it. The next day, the cast supposedly felt relieved. Unfortunately, 2 more cast members died within a couple of years of the sequel as well. Julian Beck, who starred as Cain in Poltergeist 2, died of stomach cancer at age 60. He was diagnosed just after the role. There's also another star who passed away. Will Sampson, the actor who performed The Exorcism, died of malnutrition and post-operative kidney failure at age 53. Poltergeist's young star also died, unfortunately, at the tender age of 12. The untimely passing of Poltergeist's iconic young star is perhaps the most convincing case of the curse. Heather O'Rourke, a.k.a. Carol Ann, who said the famous line, "Here, here," was incredibly young when she died of cardiac arrest and septic shock. So there you go. But we're not done yet. Other things actually happened. 2009, a cast member was brutally murdered. Also, there was also Richard Lawson, who was aboard U.S. Air Flight 405 when it crashed into Flushing Bay in March of 1992. That, my friend, brings the grand total of 13 deaths. One movie. So think about that next time you're watching one of the scariest Halloween movies of all time. A lot of people who put that movie out there are no longer with us. Could it have been the curse of the skeletons in that iconic movie scene? Who knows? Okay, I'm done. That's my first. You don't think it was? And now that you've been properly traumatized, we move on with our first guest, of course, whoever wants to come up. You don't have to say your name when you come up, by the way. Okay? If you want to, you can. If you're comfortable being recorded, I'll get everyone who's comfortable first to come up. And I have someone's going to come up and read a book. Thank you so much for telling me a ghost story.
I've got 2 stories, actually. Can I tell a story after my reading?
Of course, the floor is yours. I'm a spectator now.
I just got to move myself over in the light here. Hi, everybody. My name is Julia. Hi, Julia. Welcome to the library in its most spookiness. First story we're going to tell tonight is The Bones of Fred McPhee, written by Eve Bunting. Now, this is actually a picture book for children, but it is one of the creepiest books I have ever read. I almost want to take it off the shelf and say it's too creepy for little kids, but here we go. The Bones of Fred McPhee. There's a skeleton high in our sycamore tree, high as high can be. He was hung up there by my sister and me, high in our sycamore tree. His bones are white and he's long and lean there in our sycamore tree. His teeth are the biggest we've ever seen, grinning at Jessie and me. We brought him home from the harvest fair and named him Fred McPhee. He looks so scary dangling there high in our sycamore tree. He isn't real, but it's hard to tell. He's plastic head to toe. But all of his bones are joined so well, no one would ever know.
Yee. This is a children's book?
Yes. At night, when the wind howls overhead with ghoulish, ghastly glee, our skeleton dances the dance of the dead there in our sycamore tree. We'd like to take a peek way out back, but who knows what we'd see? We hear those bones go clickety-clack, the bones of Fred McPhee. Our old dog Sam once snapped at flies around our sycamore tree. Now Sam stays home, and the flies don't rise. It's such a mystery. Our rooster used to crow all day up in our sycamore tree. Now the rooster's gone, and the hens won't lay since we got Fred McPhee. A great horned owl with yellow eyes sits in the sycamore tree. When we look up, those gleaming eyes are all that we can see. We let Fred hang till Halloween. He won't come down before. We'll hide him where he can't be seen till Halloween comes once more. The dark is dropped like a cowl. There's no star to be seen. What's wrong with Sam? We hear him howl this night of Halloween. The morning's bright and filled with light, but where is Fred McPhee? His bones have vanished in the night, gone from the sycamore tree. Did someone come by dead of night with only the owl to see? Did someone come by pale moonlight and cut down Fred McPhee? There's a mound below that's long and lean beneath our sycamore tree. And the mound is brown, not frosty green. We know what it might be. We know it's a grave out there on the slope beneath our sycamore tree. But who could it be that cut the rope that held up Fred McPhee? The grave sinks low, and we mark the spot with pebbles and shells from the sea. We hope that Fred will like it a lot and will sleep contentedly. But when the wind howls overhead and shakes our sycamore tree, we hear them dance, the dance of the dead, those bones of Fred McPhee.
That's a kid's book?
I know!
A skeleton in a tree?
Yes,
For
in a
real?
grave underneath the sycamore tree.
I thought Stella Luna was like heartthrobbing at one point.
I know. This will scare you bejesus. Okay.
Really?
So, when I was growing up, if you can tell by my voice, I'm not from Newfoundland. I'm from Tennessee. And when I was growing up, we believed in ghosts because we saw ghosts. And so they were just like a common thing. You know, our house is on the hill and it just happens to be haunted. It's no big deal, right? So my mother, I felt, was very sensitive to that kind of thing. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay. When I was young and we lived in Tennessee, we lived in a valley between two mountains. And in the summertime, it was prime time for thunderstorms. I love thunderstorms. And lightning added to the thunderstorms, that's only, oh my gosh, that's awesome. So I used to sit on the front porch of our house and watch the thunderstorms roll across the mountains and see the lightning flash. And, I look back at that now and realize that's terribly dangerous. Especially since we had like metal railing around our porch. Yeah, it's not really smart. But anyway. My mother also really, really loved thunderstorms. So one summer night, at the time, we were living in a house that didn't have a front porch. So what she did, she opened up her bedroom window and let the wind blow in, and she sat there with her cup of coffee in her rocking chair by the window and watched the thunderstorm roll across the valley. Well, the thunder is coming, you can hear it coming, and a big roll of thunder, and then a bright flash of light with the lightning. And out of the corner of her eye, she notices something white in the field across from our house. And she kind of like refocuses and looks across, and here comes the thunder, or actually here comes the lightning comes first, and then you hear the thunder. Bright flash of light, and she realizes that it's somebody in the field across the road from our house, and she recognizes him. So she's not worried. But she is concerned a little bit because there's thunder and lightning outside. And every time the lightning flashes, the figure grows a little bit closer and a little bit closer. And it's an older man with white hair, white shirt, sleeves rolled up to the elbows, hands put in his pocket. He's walking all kind of hunched over. And every time the lightning flashes, he's a little bit closer, a little bit closer. And then finally, the lightning flashes, and there's nobody there. That's kind of creepy. A little bit creepy, but what's a really creepy thing, like I said, she recognized the person, and it was my grandfather. And my grandfather was dead, and had been dead for 10, 15 years at that point. And the other really creepy thing was, the field across from our house, we had let go to seed, and we were going to bring the hay in after it had grown up. So the grass in the field was at least 4 feet high, and he was walking on top.
Wow.
Awesome.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
High fives. So, who else is comfortable with being recorded? Yeah?
You want to tell a story?
You're going to tell a story?
Girl.
Oh, man, I'm so excited about this. Here. And just put this out there. She's also the youngest person to ever be on the Odd to Newfoundland Paranormal Podcast. Go ahead.
Well, I might not be as dark and scary as all the other adults, but I will try to make it. I have 2 stories, and they are pretty short-ish. One's long and one's like really short. Okay. It was a dark and foggy night, just like this one. And our main character was walking home. Unfortunately, he works very late. And then he has to cross a large lake to get to his house. So, he was in quite a hurry because the storm was approaching. So, he saw a man sitting on a boat. He ran to him and asked him if he could take him across the lake. The man was covered in all different types of clothing. Seemed pretty cold. Couldn't even see his face. He nodded slowly. So the man got on the boat and they went. Faster, faster, said the man, because the storm was coming and he could see the rain clouds rolling in. Faster, faster, he kept saying. Then, when they were at the middle of the lake, the boat stopped. The man was furious. He kept yelling at the other man, "Why aren't you rowing the boat?" Then, the man didn't answer. He pulled all the clothing off him, and he realized that nothing was there.
That was good.
Did you make that up yourself?
No.
No?
Well, somebody told it to me.
Nice.
And it's not that like, not that interesting, so I tried to add a few more, like, interesting words.
I think she did wonderful.
I think you're Okay, you got another one.
I have another story.
Oh, good.
This one,
My purse.
Go ahead.
this one was told by my own awesome mother.
What a good girl.
So, she told me this right before I came. So, it was a story about her teacher, who was a doctor. So, again, it was a very dark day. Well, dark night. And it was stormy outside. So, his lights went out, unfortunately. So, as he was working, he lived in a house like a few feet up. So, as he was working, he saw at the corner of his eye a mother and her daughter just staring in at him at the window. Then, he took his torch, lit it towards the window, and saw that nothing was there. And
I think a dream of mine would be to see this at every library across the world.
That would be so cool.
And I think I'd like to host them all.
I think you could.
And I think
Road trip.
a road trip would be awesome.
Awesome. Can I go with you?
Can you please come to me next year and tell more tales? Are you going to be here next year?
here at this library?
Or
Yes.
here at St.John? Do you think you'll be around?
Probably.
Do you think she could come back next year?
Okay,
Wow.
awesome. We already got one person signed up.
And by the way, if I do come back next year, or if something unfortunate happens, my name is Shiza, so remember me if I don't come next year.
Where the heck I'll remember that.
Shiza, that was awesome.
That was
excellent.
fantastic. Shiza, high five.
Anybody else who's comfortable with
Hello? I'm good right now. I have some back issues.
Oh,
Okay. Anybody else who's comfortable with being recorded can go sit up on the big comfy couch up there.
That's a different show.
Yeah. Side note, my sister was the actress who played Lunette on stage. When they did all they did. Side note, it's like her biggest role.
We should get her to the water.
Oh my God. Yeah, she's something else.
Does this have to be Halloween-related stories, or can it just be ghost stories?
It can be ghost stories.
Oh, I have a ghost story.
Oh, nice.
But wait, no,
you go ahead.
You go ahead first.
I'm going to read a poem, actually. This one is from a collection that you can get here at the library. That's what plugging.
You go, girl.
The collection is called The Headless Horseman Rides Tonight, More Poems to Trouble Your Sleep by Jack Perlutsky. And they're all scary Halloween-inspired poems. And I'm going to read the title poem, which was inspired by the legend of Sleepy Hollow. It's called The Headless Horseman. I'll try and show some pictures. The headless horseman rides tonight through stark and starless skies, shattering the silence with his otherworldly cries. He races through the darkness on his alabaster steed. The headless horseman rides tonight, wherever the fates would lead. And he rides upon the wind tonight, he rides upon the wind, galloping, galloping, galloping on, out of the great oblivion. Galloping till the night is gone, he rides upon the wind tonight, he rides upon the wind. The headless horseman rides tonight, begarbed in robes of black, to bear a being from the earth, never to bring him back. He is evil's foul embodiment, with laughter on his breath. The headless horseman rides tonight, the minister of death.
But wait, there's more.
And he rides upon the wind tonight, he rides upon the wind, galloping, galloping, galloping on, out of the great oblivion. Galloping till the night is gone, he rides upon the wind tonight, he rides upon the wind. The headless horseman rides tonight. He rides the wind alone. Beneath his arm he tightly tucks his head of gleaming bone. His voice is harsh and hollow. It is horrible to hear. The headless horseman rides tonight to fill the earth with fear. The headless horseman rides tonight upon his fateful trip, with silvery scythe of steely death held fast in bony grip. He sweeps it swiftly forth and back as over the earth he glides, and none in the world is safe tonight, for the headless horseman rides. And he rides upon the wind tonight, he rides upon the wind, galloping, galloping, galloping on, out of the great oblivion. Galloping till the night is gone, he rides upon the wind tonight, he rides upon the wind. The end.
Are you sure you don't prefer to read this? Didn't you sound awesome?
Yes.
Wow. I feel like you've done this before.
I know. Yeah, we did this. It's kind of our sidekick.
This is awesome. Okay, keep going.
So I have one other one, but this is a funny one. And it's from a collection called Frankenstein Makes a Sandwich and Other Stories You're Sure to Like because they're all about monsters and some of them are also about food, by Adam Rex.
Yeah, I never quite got that title. I'm joking.
If you could see the picture on the front, it has Frankenstein holding a giant sandwich in front of his face. And
that's actually really
the title is squished into between two slices of bread. It's a great cover.
It's really cool.
So I'm going to read the title story called Frankenstein Makes a Sandwich. When Frankenstein... I'll even show the pictures. There you go.
We can't see the story.
Can't really see him too well. We are in the dark.
Put the light on?
No, that's okay.
I'll pass the book around after so you can look at the pictures.
Cool.
It adds to the story. When Frankenstein prepared to dine on ham and cheese on wheat, he found instead he had no bread or mustard, cheese, or meat. What could he do? He thought it through until his brain was sore and thought he ought to see what he could borrow from next door. His neighbors gawked as Frankie walked the paths up to their porches. Each time he tried, the folks inside would chase him off with torches. A monster! Eek! The people shrieked. Oh, make him go away! The angry hordes unsheathed their swords, pulled pitchforks out of hay. They threw tomatoes, pigs, potatoes, loaves of moldy bread, and then a thought struck Frankenstein as pickles struck his head. It's true, at first he thought the worst, his neighbors were so rude, but then he found that on the ground they'd made a mound of food. He piled it high and waved goodbye and shouted, "Thanks a bunch!" Then stacked it on a plate and ate a big, disgusting lunch.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. Anybody else here like to go tell a story who are probably recorded?
John has a story.
I guess so.
John kind of missed the beginning, so just let you know, John. You know what? Maybe I'll tell you after. Go ahead.
If you don't mind, I've got some back issues tonight, so I'm going to stand.
Problem.
And maybe I can move around.
Sure.
So my name is John Brooks, and I've actually, I just came in here tonight to look at the books, and then the young woman outside said you were doing ghost stories. They've always fascinated me. They've always been a fascination. It really has. But anyway, there's been a ghost story sort of in our family for 100 years. You know, not 100 years, probably for about 40 years. And it pertains to my older sister. They're the villains in this, and I'm the hero.
Okay.
I do that all the time.
I'm kind of the reasonable bystander. Okay.
Older sisters are always the
older sisters.
I have one. I agree.
Yeah, my sister is 5 years older than me. And anyway, when I was, I think about 14, 15, so Cindy would have been about 19, 20. And I'm from New Brunswick. I moved over here many years ago, but I'm from New Brunswick. So my sister graduated as a teacher. Her first job as a teacher was in Minto, which is a small community outside of Fredericton. That's unimportant. But what happened is that Cindy would always come home on the weekend. Her room was always there for her. And she would always be up to craziness, insanity, okay? And it wouldn't be anything for her and her buddies to go off to Maine, which is about a 2.5-hour drive, or to Halifax, which was a big deal. So this particular, and there would never be any organization or anything like that. So this particular time, and my mother would always freak out, even though my sister was 19 or 20, Mom would always freak out because she thought Cindy would be into insanity and craziness and end up in jail or whatever, you know. So anyway, this one time my sister came home. I suppose I would have been 14, 15. So she came home and announced to my mother, like at 6 o'clock Friday night, that she and the girls are going to Halifax. Okay? No, they were going to the island. They were going to PEI. They were going to Charlottetown. And that's before the bridge, the Confederation Bridge. So you had to get a ferry. You would drive drive about 2 hours away, get a ferry, which is totally unpredictable, cross, and then you go on to Charlottetown from there. There was no planning, nothing. One of the girls apparently had their parents' car, but there was no organization like getting a hotel reservation or anything mundane like that. It was just, let's go and let's show up, and I'm sure we'll have a hotel, okay? So anyway, my mother attempted to talk my sister out of it. And you had to know the relationship between my mother and my sister. They were very close, but they butted heads sometimes. But Mom tried to talk her out and said, Cindy, why don't you do it the next weekend? You can reserve, you can do the reservations, you can work it all up, you'll have a plan. No, it's foreign, what my sister said. So anyway, this is a prelude, and just bear with me. So what happened then is that they went off on their journey Friday night. They had no plan, right? They just had a car, they had no reservation, nothing like that. So anyway, that would have been, about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock Friday night. And Mom, of course, had been opposed to the idea. She wasn't very pleased about it. So that's all fine. Anyway, my mother and father, Dad never had any trouble sleeping through any of us coming home late, but my mother would never go to bed if some of us were still lurking out there. So according to Mom now, at approximately midnight, 1 a.m., she hears the door coming open, and it's obviously midnight, it's dark out, 1 o'clock in the morning. So what happened is that she didn't turn on the lights, but she saw clearly, no question in her mind, clearly the silhouette of my sister, right? She then said, Cindy, oh, you're back. My sister didn't react, but that wouldn't be unusual for her coming in late or whatever, She might have been having a few, Anyway, so my mother kind of breathed a sigh of relief. Okay, she's home. Anyway, it was in the dark, but Cindy walked towards her and then up the stairs. We have a two-story house. So she saw my sister in the dark, but a silhouette, and then she saw her within about 3 feet as she passed by and then went upstairs, okay? I knew nothing of this because I was long gone to the, dead to the world. I'd gone to bed. Anyway, that was all fine. Mom was happy. She went back to bed with Dad. And then Mom got up. It was like Saturday, so Mom got up, I don't know, for her usual early time, and she made breakfast. And I showed up and then left. And then it was getting on to like 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock. Well, it wouldn't be unusual for one of us to sleep in. However, it was like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and no Cindy, right? Mom then went to the bottom of the stairs and yelled up to her, come on down and get your breakfast. What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. No reaction whatsoever. Then she went to the front, to the doorstep by the door, and didn't see her shoes. But she had seen my sister come in the night before, okay? She'd seen her come in the night before. Cindy had walked right by her and gone upstairs. So then Mom, naturally, since she wasn't getting a reaction, she went upstairs to keep my sister on bed, right? The bed was not slept in. She wasn't there. My sister was not there at all. Her shoes were gone. So Mom was sort of thinking, well, maybe she's gone and she left us a note. But there was no indication that she had been there at all. So, this was a real mystery. And Mom was getting worried. She started making some phone calls to my aunt, who she thought might know, who she and my aunt and Cindy were kind of tight, but she thought she might know Cindy's whereabouts. No idea. Really worried. So it's like late Saturday night, the next night, Sunday night, the next night, my sister comes home. She comes in just like nothing had ever happened. And Cindy said, no, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. Let me back up for a second. It was Friday night that Cindy had gone, okay? Cindy comes in like Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, so basically 24 hours later. And Mom said, I was frightfully worried about you. I didn't know what had happened to you. And Cindy said, I decided to come back on the bus early because, at about midnight Friday night, we got a hotel. The girls then went out for a drink, right? I didn't want to go. They went without my key, or without the key. I didn't have a key to get back into the room. It started raining sideways. I got soaked, and I was wishing that I was back home. This was at approximately 12 o'clock, 1 a.m. Friday night, the very time that my sister was seen by my mother.
Oh, wow, cool.
So, what is that?
Out-of-body experience.
Out-of-body experience, yeah.
And when they matched up the time.
Yeah.
It's just when she matched up the time, she was saying, gee, I wish I was home. And this was like she said that at the very time that my mother, and my mom, I said, Mom, is it possible you were just imagining Cindy?
Maybe you just dreamed it. Or...
She said, absolutely not. She walked right by me, and it was her.
Glad you dropped it in the library today.
Thanks, John. That's awesome.
Anybody else here comfortable being recorded?
Yes.
I think Laura's going to go up.
Oh, I was recorded, was I?
Yes. You were just, your story was just told in one of the most popular podcasts in Eastern Canada.
Oh, good.
And the biggest in Newfoundland.
Well, my sister will hear it then.
Yes.
She lives here.
I'll be sure to put it on Marjorie Mews's.
Okay.
On our
Okay.
we'll
Yeah.
put a link to it on our
perfect.
Facebook page.
That's
Yeah.
I'm going to try to have it edited and up for Halloween.
tell
I'm going to
my-
be honest, it's going to be a hard holiday.
I'll tell my sister. Yeah.
Excellent.
I got two other shows to get at actually.
Ugh.
It's a little bit
Deadlines.
Speaking of shows, this is Laura. Laura is on my show every month. She has her own segment. She's a dear friend, and I'm so happy she came here tonight. Thank you for supporting me
Yay.
and podcasts. We just can't get enough of Dr. Gilbert.
Dr. To be.
Okay, well, I call you Doctor because I'm like a D4 kind of guy.
So I'm a big nerd. I've done a MUFON Minute with about UFOs for John and the show for, almost 2 years. Almost 2 years
Just
now.
imagine.
Ugh, oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
And we're making the transition to weird science, Laura's Lair type material. So stay tuned in the next little while. So tonight I have one story that may be a ghost story. I hope it's a ghost story. And one story with all my heart that I really hoped it would result in a ghost story, but I was sorely disappointed. So for the first one, we lived in Botwood for a little bit of time. And I was 11, and we lived in this house, and the people that lived there before us, they actually left all their stuff. So they had rented the house to us, and one part of the basement was just full of other people's stuff. So you could peer in, and there was these dividers up and pieces of board, so you could just look in at little glimpses of someone else's life. So that was a little creepy for us. So I was 11, and my brother and sister were 9. They're twins. So, of course, naturally, where would you set up a children's playroom? In the basement right next to other people's stuff, because that's what you do around the bay in Newfoundland. So we would go down there and play, and there was a big forced air furnace. So when it would click in, it would be really loud and booming, and you could hear the wind and air rushing through it. So that was enough to put us a little bit on edge. But the other people's belongings being there always made us feel a little bit fishy. And then after a while of us being there, whenever we used to go down and play, and we'd play Barbies, and we'd have roller skates, and the house would be totally silent, because Mom left us there when she went to work. Maybe that's not allowed with Child Protective Services, but
you know,
Everybody
we all,
made it out on the other
we all
side, so,
survived.
yeah.
And the house would be completely silent. Then all of a sudden, the light over the other person's belongings would start to flick on and off. It was on the same light switch as the light on the other side, but that light would stay on, and the light over the other person's belongings would switch on and off. And it would really scare the dickens out of us, and the furnace was off. No one was walking upstairs, because we tried to tell ourselves, oh, that's just someone walking upstairs. But it was just the three of us in the basement with the lights flicking. So my would-be, could-be, really wishful ghost story, a few years ago, my husband and I went to California. So I did the ghost hunter, paranormal lover grand tour while he was at work. So I decided I'd go to Alcatraz, and I decided I'd go to the Winchester Mystery Mansion, hoping so much that I'd have a paranormal experience. Of course, the dark and stormy night is what you'd want when you go visit these places. Naturally, it was split in the rocks sunny. Glorious days when I went. I went to Alcatraz, so excited to see ghosts and hear stories of murderers and ghouls and, you know, beyond the grave voices coming from prison cells. I actually was faced with a really beautiful spot with a neat, unique ecosystem. It has its own variety of mouse because it evolved over time on this little island. And there was actually a children's school, and they used to ship the children back and forth on a little ferry over across to San Francisco. So what I had hoped for, a really cool paranormal experience, was actually like a really nice little community around the bay. So then the next day, I said, okay, perfect. I'm going to have the paranormal experience of my life. I'm going to drive myself. I rented a car, drove to San Jose, said goodbye to my husband that morning, drove. So I don't know if many people know about the Winchester Mystery Mansion. So Sarah Winchester was the heiress to the Winchester rifle fortune. Her husband had passed away from tuberculosis. She had a little baby who had passed away, I think, at 6 months. And her whole life, she felt responsible for the deaths of all the people who had been killed by the Winchester rifles. She was a bit of an eccentric, and she had purchased this mansion. When she had built this mansion, she had allegedly communed with psychics and mediums and people from beyond the grave who had guided her in crafting this mansion. The mansion had over 160 rooms. It also had 950 doors, 10,000 windows, 40 stairways, 52 skylights, 47 fireplaces, 6 kitchens, 3 elevators, and different groundbreaking elements. Like she was one of the first people to put in wool insulation, different gas lights, electricity, an indoor shower, and a complete sewage drainage system. She also had unique communication devices so she could communicate with her staff. But that's not all that was interesting about this house. You'll notice staircases that go up into walls and to ceilings that don't actually lead to anywhere. Some people say that they lead to another world, another dimension for the paranormal ghosts and ghouls. So I had gone into this experience ready. I took off my skeptical hat and with my paranormal heart waited for an experience, waited for Sarah Winchester to tell me a story. Once again, it was a beautiful sunny day. I did the tour. We went to the gift store after. I never saw any ghosts or goblins. I never felt anything special, but it was a really cool experience. And unfortunately, I never had a ghost story, but I really wish I did.
Laura, it's incredible to see the growth in your ability to speak now. And it's just so cool to see that. I can see all those presentations you've done coming through there, man.
Oh, thank
Definitely
you.
do. You sounded wicked. Like,
She looks like a professional out there. Is there anybody else here who's comfortable being recorded who'd like to share a story? I think we're done.
I think we're done.
Okay. So in that case, just for the people who are listening, all the listeners out there, thanks so much for tuning in, and everyone's going to give a big clap.
Well, the time to say goodbye is upon us. But don't worry, you can keep track of the Odd the Newfoundland Paranormal Podcast very easily. It's available on Stitcher, iTunes, Podbean, and TuneIn Radio. Just look for the Odd the Newfoundland Paranormal Podcast banner. Of course, if you'd like to keep up to date, you can always check out the Odd the Newfoundland Paranormal Podcast Facebook page, drop a like, and every single time a new show goes up, you'll be notified. You can also follow me, John Mallard, on Twitter at ODDTONFLD. That's Odd to Newfoundland. From the oldest city in North America, I bid you adieu from the Odd to Newfoundland Paranormal Podcast.